Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Gene Trowbridge and Jonathan Ney, founding partners of the top syndication firm, Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, have a legal team with over 50 years of combined experience in real estate syndication and the practice of real estate securities law. Over this time, Gene and his partners in several past firms and currently have helped clients raise close to $5 billion in offerings by empowering entrepreneurs to raise capital legally. To learn more about Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, visit their website at trowbridgelawgroup.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Ken Wimberly. Thanks for being on the show, Ken.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I look forward to this conversation. You are a what's called a multidisciplined entrepreneur and have over 15 different streams of income, including 4 operating businesses. I think that's kind of like the dream of most of us, right? Maybe we're going to hear a little more about that. And he's taken a passion as a father and also has created an app for parents called Legacy of Love. He has over 20 years of experience in commercial real estate, but just has numerous entrepreneurial ventures and very successful. So Ken, welcome to the show. Grateful to have you on. Look forward to hearing more about, just everything you've accomplished. But get us started a little bit. Give us a little background in this 20 years of commercial real estate, and I'd love to dive into some more of the just multidisciplinary entrepreneurship, that you've accomplished.
Sure. I got in the commercial real estate business in late 2002, and my first number of years in the business were that as a land broker. Most of my clients were residential land developers that would go buy tracts from 50 to 200 acres, and they would land plan it, take it through zoning, planning, sell the lots off to home builders. And I was kind of their bird dog. I was their go-to guys out there assembling tracts for them. And that's all I did for probably the first 5 years of my business, is just go and find land deals for a handful of clients, and primarily on the buy side. Wasn't a listing broker or anything like that. I was just repping them on the buy side of deals, and did quite well in that part of the business. And that led me to, I was looking at land all of the time. It's what I did was studied land, studied values, studied ownership on that. And so that led me to getting into my first couple of commercial real estate opportunities as an investor, it was what I was doing. It was in the land side of things. So I syndicated a couple of those with some partners on the land side. And then, 2008, financial crisis comes, the equity markets, or certainly debt markets, shut down for most everything in commercial real estate, certainly in the land markets, and land just tanked and went dormant for a number of years. So spent a few years doing whatever I could, working on a number of different things in the brokerage world, including did a lot of bank REO work for a national, or a regional rather, Texas bank, did a number of REO dispositions for their bank. And as we kind of came out of that recession, started looking at what else I could focus on. I actually hired a commercial real estate business coach at the time, who advised me. He said, look, Wimberly, I was actually still doing a fair amount of transactional volume right there as far as number of transactions, but my deal size during the downturn had gotten smaller and smaller on the deal size. And so he said, Wimberly, you need to basically find an asset class that's got a bigger price tag and it moves quicker than land, so it can turn over. And ended up with a focus on triple net investment properties. And so that was circa 2011 right there. And so from 2011 moving forward, I really had a sole focus on investment income properties. And I got my CCIM in 2010. So it was I liked doing the analytics and assessing properties and putting all the numbers together. And so that was all of our focus. I ended up building a fairly sizable real estate group We scaled that business from about 8 or 9 million in annual volume up to over 100 million in annual volume. And as we were doing that, so then my focus was all on investment income. And so I bought a couple of those kinds of properties as well, started investing in some other people's deals and putting some money there. So started slowly kind of building my own portfolio, my own wealth into that. The success in that led to opportunities through some other things. I opened up a Keller Williams franchise in Abilene, Texas, and started to grow that. We bought a building, put together a partnership that housed our Keller Williams office out there. And fast forward a couple years later, was getting into another shopping center acquisition, and that led me into the laundromat business. Was actually looking for a tenant for our building, a potential building right there, and came across a laundromat guy, and he assessed our building, said, man, this is a perfect laundromat location. And so I was trying to get them as an operator into the building, but eventually realized that he wasn't an operator. He was actually an equipment distributor, and he did not have an operator. So long story short, I ended up getting into that business with a couple of other partners. We opened up our first laundromat last September in Abilene, Texas, in a shopping center that we had bought and put together. And now we're in the process of opening up locations number 2 and 3 right now. So, and then, that around the same time as I was in the laundromat, I did what you mentioned. I created the app Legacy of Love for parent-to-child journaling, as I've been journaling to my children since my daughter was 1. She's now 17 years old, and my son was still in the womb at the time. He's now 16, and now we've got a 4-year-old. But have been journaling to them for all of their life, and had told dozens of parents about that. And that led to actually me creating an app. There just wasn't something in the market for what I was doing. There were journaling apps out there, journaling programs, but nothing that would do how I was going through this process. And so we ended up creating our own program and product out of it. And so that's the real short version of my story and how we got to where we are today.
That's incredible. And I want to jump into some of the commercial real estate stuff there and some questions I have for you, just as an entrepreneur as well. But on the app itself, what does that do again? Like just, in a sentence or two, what's your goal there with that app?
My goal is to help as many other parents as possible to capture the moments that are happening in their lives, or the memories they're creating, or the lessons that they want to pass down, so that they can later pass that on to their children, that can be passed on to their grandchildren and in future generations. I've come across more and more and more people that are like, it's the history of our family that is the real joy of life right there. And this is, me journaling to my children was a way for me to capture our history as it was happening. It was a way for me to save the high moments, the low moments, the good times, the crash of 2008, and the milestones that they've encountered in their lives. And so we created the app in order so that other parents could do that. They could document it with photos, videos, audio files, save voicemails, all of that, and create a beautiful digital timeline of their child's life. And that's what we created with Legacy of Love.
I love that. And my wife and I recently, I didn't even know about this app, but we just started trying to record a video once or twice a month of just us talking about what our kids are doing. And like you said, highs and lows, different things we want to document, so they can just see us talking about it, 20 years from now and what they did. So that's neat. I'm going to look it up myself. Please. And so I want to jump into your career a little bit. I mean, I want the listener to listen to that again, or to hear, your path a little bit, because you started bird dogging land deals, and then you hired a business coach. And, as far as hiring that business coach, what was your thought process? What were you hoping to accomplish? And did it do that?
Yeah, I had never had a coach prior to that point. And my business had kind of been fairly steady. I mean, even through the downturn, I did okay in business. We were making 6 figures or more each year, but it was steady. And what I was looking was, how do I get better? How do I improve? How do I improve myself? And really, it was shortly after I joined KW and the KW Commercial Network that I started hearing people from the stage that had really big lives, really big businesses. And all of them were talking about the value of mentors and coaches in their life. And so that's kind of what led me. So what did I want out of that? I wanted focus in my business, and I wanted some techniques and strategies and accountability to help me actually grow my business and to get to where I wanted to go. So my coach kind of helped me with goal setting, helped me kind of visualizing, hey, where do you want to be in the next 3 and 5 years right there? And then putting a plan in place to go get there. And then he'd hold me accountable to doing what I set with my plan. And it worked. It worked in a big way.
Nice. So, and quickly, I think after that, or you talked about, he said find a larger asset class that moves faster than land. And then also, you built a real estate group that went from 8 million annually to 100 million annually. And, give us some keys to making that happen. What caused that massive growth?
A few things. First and foremost, I think is focus. Focus in a niche in an asset class. For all of I had focused on land that first 5-6 years in the business, and that was great. And I had a big business focused on that little asset class. And then for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, I was more of a generalist through that downturn as things were right there. And when I refocused into one asset class, and the coach gave me that great advice of find something that has velocity in the market. Land can be a great asset class, but you can have a phenomenal tract of land as a broker. And it might take you 5 years to sell that phenomenal tract of land just because there's a really limited buyer pool for a particular location of land that has a particular use that's from its zoning classification. In something like triple net investings or shopping centers or multifamily or the hotel industry, there's a lot of different asset classes that people can endeavor into that has a much higher velocity. And frankly, it's people from around the country or even around the world that invest in these kind of assets. So that was a big aha for me. And so we focused just on this narrow niche of products. And then we even niched down from there into 2 or 3 tenants. And that's what we really did. And so our team became experts in 2 or 3 tenants in this asset class and got to know the players in that business. We got to know the developers and the investors and the REITs that did it. And it was relationship based, like so many things in life. And we started establishing relationships with these folks, which led to more and more and more transactional volume that we were able to do.
Nice. Well, it's interesting. You talked about focusing, like first thing, focus on niche asset classes. But I wanted to ask you, about focusing, because you've had, like 15 different streams of income. You've got numerous different operations happening. What's your thought process there as far as, say focusing on one versus, opening up to having, 4 different operations at the same time?
Well, team is the operative word at that point. And all of us have the same 24 hours in a day. We only have so much bandwidth and so much time we can give to it. And hopefully what you've heard a little bit is kind of a one thing at a time that I've done. I've focused and done things and had team in place. So I have leaders in these different businesses that are helping to run everything. So I'm actually the leader of the app business and running that. But from our laundromat business, from our Keller Williams franchise, from our residential side that my wife runs, so we've got leadership in place that runs these various businesses right there, and it's team. So my time is generally spent with my key team members, helping guide and coach and provide them with the resources they need to go run those operating businesses.
Nice. No, I love that answer. And so much is building teams, right? And hiring people. And that's a difficult part of the business is finding those leaders, right? I see that look on your face. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Can you give us a couple tips on how you've overcome the hiring process to find those leaders that you're willing to, to put in those roles?
It is the most difficult part of the business. And I can share my shortcomings. So, when we opened up our Keller Williams franchise, it took me 4 different people to go through to find the right leader in that business. So I am by no means perfect at this. So the first couple of years with that business were a real struggle for me. And it was because I had put leadership in place that I thought this would be the right person, but I kept learning, well, I didn't see this blind spot, like when I went through the process. And I learned a little bit with each person that would come and go. Here was my blind spot. And then eventually the right person came, and she's been with me now for years, and she's incredible. So, but to your question there, what are some of the things we do? I have studied hiring. In fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going through a 2-day course all about hiring the right kind, and not just hiring, it's about identifying your need, defining that in a job description, and then going and hiring the right kind of people using personality traits and tracking from skills test and personality test, and marrying that all together to hire the right kind of people. Keller Williams has been wonderful about teaching that kind of things. I'm now going through like an outside course on this, and it's a science. It is. When I first started hiring people, probably like many, it was a 1 or 2 interview process, and it was largely based on how I felt about them. Oh, great, we get along well. I like them. They're great, and I would hire them. And time after time, that resulted in mistakes in my hiring. And so now I'm much more disciplined and scientific about the process. And another business coach I had really taught me. He said, Ken, he said, when you go through the hiring process, I want you to have no less than 100 applicants. Like 100 applicants. He goes, 100 applicants. And he said, and so I've learned, if you go post on Indeed, LinkedIn, and maybe one of the other recruiting sites right there, you will get a flood of applicants. And here's how you start screening them out. Okay, put something in your hiring requirement. I'll do something as simple as this. I will put in there, please send your resume and a cover letter. And in the cover letter, please, I've done this exact thing before. In the cover letter, please please indicate the city and state of the headquarters for Keller Williams Realty International. That's a pretty simple thing. Can you read this instruction and follow it? 90% of the people will fail to do that. And so it's an easy screen. If someone will not take the time to read a simple instruction and follow that, it's not who I want to hire. So that's a quick screen for me right there. And so you get from the 100 applicants down to the dozen or so that we want to then interview. And from that dozen or so, we'll typically end up with 2 to 4 really good candidates. And then frankly, it kind of sucks to have to choose one. So you got to choose one, but we choose the best one possible. And out of that, then we've got 2 or 3 on our bench, on our kind of our leadership bench right there. And I always try to leave that experience with the folks that we don't hire with the best feeling possible, so that when the next opportunity comes up, we can go back to them and hopefully get into business with them.
Nice. Could you give just a couple tips on finding that business coach?
Oh yeah. I like to find someone that is coaching to the industry, right? So depending on what your industry is, there are coaches that specialize in the industry. It doesn't always have to be exactly in your asset class, but certainly when I say asset class, certainly from commercial real estate, there's lots of different niches and asset classes. So it doesn't always have to be in that, but certainly in the industry where they have been a practitioner, they've been in the weeds, they've dealt with the issues before. And then I want to find someone that's got a track record of success in their own business. So I'm looking for someone. There's all kinds of coaches out there that just figure, I'm just going to start coaching people because it sounds like an easy thing to do. There's life coaches. There's a bunch of, I hate the term life coach. Although honestly, I look at myself, I do some personal coaching as well. And where my passion is in coaching people in their whole life, right? In their health and wellness, in their relationships, in their physical fitness, in their mental acuity, and in their business acuity right there. So, but I hate the term life coach. So, but to find someone in your kind of niche or your industry, and I'd start with a simple Google search and then start looking, go, find out, do they have, can you talk to some references, talk to a few people that they've coached in the past right there, and get some insight and experience. I'll make I hadn't even thought about this before, but I'll make a quick comment on references. Many times you can infer a lot from the people giving you the reference, right? You can talk to someone and you can tell, is this like a really sharp person? For instance, in hiring, I've had many references. I've had the chancellor of a major university as a reference to someone. That reference carries a great deal of weight. And then I've had other folks that are references that just are like, who's that person, right? They don't even know who the person is. And there's, they don't care to give a reference there. So I rank and weight the people giving me references. So I'll just say that from a coaching perspective too. When you're getting references, listen to what did they do? What's their success? How did that coach help them get from A to B to C? And use that as a guide.
That's great advice. Great advice. And I think it's interesting how it sounds like you've done this. You need coaches, and sometimes different coaches are, along your way or along your journey as you accelerate your success. Well, all of a sudden you need a different coach. You need a higher level coach. And it sounds like that's what you've done. Just one quick question also on some of this before we have to move to a few final questions. But, assessing new business opportunities, it sounds like you've done really well at that. And I was just thinking about, okay, now you've moved into, say, laundromats. Well, how did you look at that initially to say, okay, this is worth spending my time on. This is worth me developing another business here and potentially another form of income, and spending that time and your resources, your money on that?
Yeah, we studied the industry a great deal. So when we looked at laundromats, it was a few things. Number one, we want to make sure that the economic opportunity was there. So could we actually, for money invested into it, would we receive an economic interest in it? And we thought that was a possibility. The other thing I needed an operating partner. So there were two of us that started looking at that opportunity together. However, we're both kind of big picture visionary starters, and we needed an operator. So we found an operator in there. And then the three of us wanted a business and an opportunity that would do more than just produce cash flow for us. We're all at a stage of our lives where meaning and contribution takes a much larger role in our life. And we wanted an industry that we could contribute. And the laundromat industry actually was one that we really felt. And so in our laundromats, we have a children's play area a dedicated area in our laundromats that we built out specifically for children to come in and play, so that when parents are in and they have their young children with them, their children aren't bored and just sitting around or running around swinging on the laundromat doors. They're in there playing, and adjoining our children's play area is a children's library, a little area filled with kids' books so that children can sit there and read. Beyond that, we partnered with the local university to come and read to the children every Saturday. It's on hold because of COVID, but once we get beyond that, we'll start it again, where the university students will come and read to children every Saturday. Because in that niche and in that industry, something we learned, another reason that drew us to it, was that in the lower income areas where many laundromats are located, there was a stat that said that 1 in 300 households has books in their home for children. 1 in 300. Wow. I have a 4-year-old, and I bet he's got 300 books in his room. He's got, we've just tons and tons of books. And so for us, we bring in books every single month, and we encourage children to walk out with those books. Take one home. You find it, take it home. So long way to say that when we studied the industry, we wanted the economics to work. We wanted it to be something that would work for us as partners, and something where we can contribute and make a difference.
Wow. I love that. I love that, how you looked at that like that and just saw the need there in a way that you could contribute at a much bigger scale than just looking at the income from that business. So appreciate you sharing that. Ken, what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
Ooh, great question. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a little Instagram strategy that I learned from a podcast on Instagram. And this has helped me to improve our business. And what's helped me to improve, it's helped me to connect with people at a deeper level that are, and so the Instagram strategy was pretty simple. Go search on Instagram, search by hashtag. I actually hate the word hashtag, but go search by hashtag, which is topic. And for whatever topic that you are passionate about or interested about that you feel can help your business. So I'll give you one for Legacy of Love, our app. I've searched for parenting and parenting podcast type things. And then the tip here is what's going to pull up first are the top posts, the ones that are trending. Avoid those. There's already tons of topics and comments and likes on those, but go to the topics that are new. So you got trending and recent, I guess. So go to the recent. These are the posts that might have just been posted moments ago or within the last few hours. Scroll through those till you find the post that speaks to you, and then make a thoughtful comment on that post. Not a, hey, great article or great info or something like, but a thoughtful comment where you can add value to the person making that post. And you'll very likely get some dialogue. They're certainly going to like it. They might come follow you and start learning about you, and they're probably going to reply back to you. From there, you can send a private message or a DM on Instagram to that person and engage with them and start a relationship. I've done that. I do that almost daily right now. And I'll do that. I'll spend about 30 minutes. I'll go respond to 5 different posts and send people private messages right there when they engage with me. And it's really a great way to engage with people in business and help it build your business.
Great advice. Wow, I've not heard that before, so I appreciate you sharing that. So what's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
I am part of a couple of mastermind groups. And one of those is GoBundance that I've been a member of for about 5 years. And really, so for new investors, I go to the people that I know or that are in my extended network is where I go. So I'm not looking for people that I don't know or don't have at least a one-off relationship. So my preference is to go to the relationships I've developed over the last 20 years and the relationships that I continue to develop within these mastermind groups.
I appreciate you bringing up masterminds as well. I just feel like that's part of that. Kind of like we talked about coaches to kind of grow. You need a higher level coach, and masterminds I feel have done the same thing for me. And you look for a higher level. And I've heard great things about GoBundance. So what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
A growth mindset. I think without a doubt, being open to growing and what, I'll be very transparent. In the first 30 some odd years of my life, I don't think I really had a growth mindset. I was much more of a fixed mindset kind of guy, not by intention as much as just by default. I didn't know better. And as I got into my late 30s, I'm 49 now. As I got into my late 30s, I just got exposed to mentors, to coaches, to learning, to Tony Robbins, to some other things. And my mind started opening. And I think that growth mindset has 100% been the biggest lever to my success.
Nice. Very nice. It's a hard transition or change for most of us, isn't it, Ken?
Yes, sir.
So I know you already mentioned some ways you like to give back, but is there any way that you like that you like to give back that you'd like to discuss or elaborate on?
So we give back 10% of everything we come in. My wife and I, we have this little system. So everything all money that comes in, we allocate 10% to that. And we have a handful of preferred organizations that we give to. I've got a good friend of mine that is one of the longest surviving heart transplant patients in the world. He had a heart transplant, I want to say it was 26, 27 years ago. They gave him 6 months to live, and he's still around today kicking everyone's ass. And amazing guy. And he it's a fascinating story. Your listeners will have to look him up. He founded something called the David Nicholas Organ Donor Awareness Foundation in honor of David Nicholas, who was he has David's heart in his heart.
His donor, yeah.
And he was the donor. And it's so fascinating because the DeBond family and the Nicholas family have just become one big family through this. It's a fascinating story. They're wonderful, wonderful people. So that's an organization that we really try to support a whole lot. And so we give back through Legacy of Love. In fact, we're kind of about to start following the Tom Shoes model, where we take what Tom's did. They gave a pair of shoes away for every pair of shoes you bought. And so for us, for every person that subscribes to one of our premium plans, we're taking a percentage of that and donating it to a handful. We're letting our subscribers choose what charity, but it will be 5 or 6 of the charities that we're really passionate about. You choose which charity, and we'll send a portion of the proceeds to one of these charities.
Nice. Ken, grateful for your time. You've been a great guest, and I've loved hearing about your story and just your transition through as being an entrepreneur and being open to many different opportunities and being very successful in them as well, and all your experience in real estate. I mean, whether it's masterminds and coaches and all these things that have helped you to get where you are today, and starting from bird dogging land deals. So I just think that's so interesting, and I just want the listeners to hear that, and just the opportunities that are out there. So Ken, thank you again for your time. How can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Facebook is at Lord Wimberly. Instagram is ken.wimberly. Come check me out at those places, and come look at Laundry Love, LUV, laundryluv.com, and Legacy of Love, LOVE.app, legacyoflove.app.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.